So I have this theory. We all have a tiny, invisible manager living in our heads. Mine is named Keith. He wears a beige tie and carries a clipboard. He doesn't have a face, just a faint, disapproving eyebrow. And his full-time job is to send me memos, internal memos, on mental parchment. The subject line is always the same. Regarding your ongoing employment as a functional human being. I'll finish a task, feel a flicker of accomplishment, and then I hear the subtle thwip of a memo sliding under the door of my consciousness. Memo number 4832. While the completion of the Q3 report was tolerable, we have concerns about the strategic use of the Oxford comma on page 7. This has been noted in your permanent record. Also, your posture at the 2 p.m. meeting was questionable. We are monitoring the situation. Regards, management. This isn't imposter syndrome. This is a hostile takeover of my own psyche by a middle management ghost. The problem is, Keith is very, very convincing. He speaks in spreadsheets and performance reviews. He has data. For example, I'll be on a video call. Someone will say, "Fantastic point, Sarah." And inside my head, Keith is frantically scribbling. Memo number 9001. They said, "Fantastic point. Preliminary analysis suggests this is a social nicety with a 97.3% probability of being empty corporate rhetoric. Do not internalize. Repeat, do not internalize. Await further data. Also, you blinked 12% more than the group average. Suspicious." He turns every compliment into a phishing email. My instincts tell me not to click on it. So I developed a counter protocol. It's called strategic over-preparation. If I have to lead a meeting, I don't just prepare an agenda. I prepare for philosophical debates that might arise. I research the history of the topic. I have backup slides for my backup slides. The document is so comprehensive, it has its own table of contents and a glossary of terms I made up. By the time I'm done, I'm not a person, I'm a walking, talking Wikipedia article that's terrified of being edited. And Keith, he just sends a new memo. The over-preparation is noted. It reads as desperate. A truly competent individual would have simply known the material. This is a red flag. It's a closed-loop system. I can't win. But then, something broke. It was a Tuesday. The Wi-Fi was sluggish. Keith was on his third memo about my inefficient use of the reply all function. I was in a virtual brainstorming session. 12 faces on a screen, all nodding thoughtfully at a truly meaningless sentence someone just said. Something like, "Let's leverage our core synergies to operationalize a paradigm shift." And I had it. A real, genuine, good idea. It popped into my head, fully formed. It was simple. It was clever. And Keith immediately slammed the panic button. Red alert. Unvetted idea detected. Do not engage. We have not run the appropriate feasibility studies. My finger hovered over the mute button. The safe space. The place where ideas go to die without consequence. But the Wi-Fi was slow. The icon was spinning. And in that tiny window of digital lag, a rebellion sparked. I unmuted. My voice came out a little squeaky. What if we just did the opposite? Silence. 12 faces, frozen for a second. Keith was having a full-blown meltdown, waving his clipboard, his eyebrow practically vibrating with fury. And then the person who'd said the jargon-filled sentence leaned in. Explain. I did. It was messy. I used as a comma. I backtracked twice, but the idea landed. It was like I'd thrown a single clean stone into a pond of mud. It actually made a ripple. After the call, I waited for the memo. The condemnation. The performance review of my impromptu speech. But all I heard was static. Keith was frantically flipping through his rule book, and he couldn't find a protocol for this, for an unapproved, slightly messy success. That's when I realized it. Keith isn't a manager, he's a quality assurance bot from a broken factory. His only function is to find faults. He can't measure value, he can only measure deviation from a non-existent manual. So I started a new policy. I call it creative incompetence. I deliberately send emails with a casual, lowercase subject line. Keith sends a memo about unprofessionalism. I delete it. I admit in a meeting that I don't know the answer. I'll have to get back to you on that. Keith has an aneurysm. I pour myself a coffee. I started being a person instead of an employee. The most powerful weapon, I've found, is the phrase, "I was wrong." It's like kryptonite to the imposter syndrome. Keith's clipboard short-circuits, his beige tie loosens, because a true fraud could never admit that. It's the one thing they can't fake. The imposter is always on mute. It thrives in silence and isolation. The moment you speak your idea, even if your voice cracks, you drag it into the light. And in the light, it looks less like a monster and more like a sad ghost with a clipboard who doesn't know how to have a good time. You don't beat it with more data. You drown it out with the messy, unedited, unmuted sound of your own voice. So go on, unmute yourself. Keith can't do anything about it. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more. Let's silence those inner critics together. Thanks so much for watching. Now go out there and unmute your day.